Hi, this is Deidre McGrath at the MSU Horticulture Gardens, and today I'm going to show you how I receive and sow the seeds for our trial program. So we mostly evaluate annual varieties, but we also get some perennials and some vegetables. And breeding companies are submitting those seeds to us so we can see how they grow in our Michigan climate. So here I am, I got a couple packages today. One is from a perennial company, and the other one is actually from another trialing program called All America Selections. And we participate in their program and evaluate the plants for them. So I'm an All America Selections judge. So that's what I got today. So I'm gonna open the boxes up, get out the packing lists, and make sure that we actually have everything that we're supposed to. So I'm going to go through seed packet by seed packet and make sure that we have what we're supposed to and that we don't have any surprises, because sometimes they will include seeds I'm not expecting, and sometimes I'll be missing one or two things. Once I've checked in all of my seeds, then it's time to sort them. And certain seeds need to be started at certain times depending on how long they take to grow. The finish date for all of them is basically the same, which is early June when I'll be able to plant them outside, but some of them take 6 weeks to finish, some of them take 12 weeks to finish. So I'm going to sort them into these little bins. So each week I can just grab that week's bin and I know what I have to sow. I also have this sheet which I use to reference when all the seeds need to be started. There's hundreds and hundreds of varieties, and I would never be able to remember the starting date for all of them on my own. So I just keep this list and I keep adding to it every year as I encounter varieties I've never grown before. As I was sorting these 2 shipments of seeds that I got in today, I realized there are 3 things in there that I actually need to start this week. So it's currently week 5, so I'm going to start 2 varieties of Perovskia that take quite a while to grow. And then the other one, the Alyssum, I couldn't find any information on when to start it or how to start it, but it's a perennial, so I'm just going to go with my gut and start it right around now when I start a lot of my other perennials from seed. So I use 20-row seed trays when I sow my trial seeds, and I try to sow about 60 seeds of each variety because I know with the average germination rate that I will get at least enough plants that I need for each trial entry in the gardens. So I'm going to fill this with our regular potting mix, and then I'm going to go water it in. This is what the tray looks like. It has 20 rows. I always avoid the outside 2 rows because they have kind of an edge effect, but I'll use the inside 18 rows. And if I only have a few varieties to start, I'll just cut the tray to how many rows I actually need. Record keeping is really important for the trial program, so I make sure that I label everything very clearly using waterproof marker. I write out the name, the cultivar, and on the back of the tag, I'll put the date that I sowed the seeds, and then later I will enter that information into a spreadsheet as well. Then it comes time to actually sow the seeds, so I want to double check that I'm sowing the correct variety with the correct tag, because you really can't tell these seeds apart, and I don't want to get them mixed up. So I'll put the tag in the tray, and then I'm going to sow 2 rows of 30 for a total of 60 seeds of each variety. And sometimes the hardest part is getting the seed packet open. And a lot of times it's a packet within a packet within a packet. So once I finally get to the inner packet, I'll fold it a little bit and just very gently tap the seeds in. I do kind of count as I'm going, but I'm not counting every single seed because I would go crazy if I did that, but I do want to make sure that I have about 30 in each row, again, so I know I have enough plants, enough viable plants to plant outside. And again, this alyssum, I looked on the company's website, I did a Google search, and I couldn't find any information on when to start it or whether it needs to be covered or cold stratified. So I'm just gonna sow it along with my other perennials and see what happens. A lot of times in horticulture, you just gotta go with your gut instinct, and usually it works out. So there's my seed tray with my 3 varieties that I needed to start this week. The alyssum I am going to cover. I know I don't need to cover the perovskia. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to cover the alyssum, but I'm just going to do it lightly and hope that that works out. And now I'm taking the tray into our propagation house where it has high humidity and a nice warm temperature, and it's going to get some mist periodically. And this is where we start pretty much all of our seeds, all of our unrooted cuttings, and it just gives them the perfect environment to germinate. And I'll keep checking on these and see how they do. Here's a few that I started last week. This is a lupine that's popping up. So some of them germinate quite quickly. The very last step is to go into my master spreadsheet and find those 3 varieties that I started today and enter in the sowing date. And as I was doing this, I realized I hadn't even added the All America Selections plants to my master list. So I'm going to take the list that I was provided from All America Selections, and theirs, of course, is not formatted even close to the way I need my list formatted. So I'm just going to move some columns around and fill in all of the missing information. So I keep track of whether a trial entry is sponsored or not, whether they're paying us to grow them and evaluate them. I keep track of whether the company wants the plant in the ground or in a container or a hanging basket, and of course, whether they want that plant trialed in sun or shade. So thanks for joining me as we take a look at how I go from receiving the trial seeds to sowing them, and we'll have to keep an eye on the seeds, watch them germinate, transplant them into their own little pots, and eventually they'll go outside and develop into what you see here in our trial garden.